Ah, yes. So, after desperately looking forward to the season of LFM to start, you'd think I'd put some time into some practice and, expect to do well in my first ever race. But unfortunately, as the intro suggested, I'd done 0 minutes of practice, and this is my first time basically seeing this track at night. I squeezed maybe 1 hour or so before this actually began, but it was during the day because I didn't realize I was going to do a night race. But with that aside, let's go into my first hot lap, or just a little snippet of it, because going through turn 1 deceived me every single time, and with this being nighttime, my reference points and everything else were not very clear. I couldn't see very well, and that showed on this turn here when this happened to me. So with absolute nerves of steel, I done another round, came through to begin my hot lap. For this hot lap, I'm going to keep quiet just so that the focus is on the actual driving, and you see how it went. Coming across the line P12. Now that was actually a pleasant surprise for me. I really expected to be in the bottom half of this, but that tells me that maybe not everyone that's in this race practiced. But this was also the bottom split of all the LFM, but we're just going to move straight on to the race. Now, if I may say so myself, I loved that little transition, and I thought it was a really cool effect with the lights and everything else like that, so kudos to me, I guess. Now, we're on to the run up to the start of the race, and as you can probably see with some of the things here, everyone just driving through each other, keeping no order whatsoever. Very, very classic of the low splits, I guess. And coming through to the start finish, I was pretty nervous, and even just lining up is really nerve-wracking for some reason, and getting myself ready to go green, and here we go, the race begins. It was a disastrous beginning, as you probably see here, and as I mentioned earlier, turn 1 deceptive to me. I keep forgetting that's actually tighter than it is, and I go off track. Now at this point, keeping positions is going to be pretty difficult. As you can see on the top right, I've made my own counter, because the HUD on the left is not really brilliant for updating times and for updating the positions. And that I've already gone off once, but I decided to go off a second time to lose further positions, and I go from P12 to P19 in the first couple of turns of Donington Park. A very disastrous start, nevertheless, but what else can I do other than continue and soldier on, because, it's a 20-minute race. And fishtailing. Fishtailing was very, very much going to be a part of this race for me. I just did not have a grip on this car and on this track at all. Now, through this hairpin over here, we encounter lurch and snow. Now, Snow decides he's going to go all the way out, not really caring about Lurch at all. Misses his breaking point. Lurch swoops on the inside, and I follow Lurch through as well, keeping close to him as much as possible. But as I come out, I have a fishtail, lose all traction, and thankfully no one capitalizes on that, or at least I thought that much, because coming into turn 1, as I'm about to turn in from out of nowhere like an absolute maniac, Snow decides to dive bomb but misses his point completely and goes off into the gravel, which was very fortunate for me that I did not get collected by him and have my race ruined. But further on in the slap, coming down to this hairpin, wild moment, carnage happened, and I managed to get myself 3 positions. I would have gotten 4, but someone hung it out on the outside, surprisingly. And coming into this turn here, the final hairpin, as I'm making the turn, there's someone to my left. I could not turn in the way that I wanted to, but yes, that is Lurch beside me, who has been with me for a hot minute. Going into turn 1, once again taking it as carefully as I could, and Lurch forgot how deceptive this turn really is, and I took that position from him at long last. And now right in front of me is he slip. His slip. Anyways, he slip. And going into turn 1 again, a lap later, his slip still right in front of me, and coming through to my favorite part of the track, I guess, the flat out S's. Would this be S's? But anyways, into this turn here, I really did hate this turn. I don't think I took it out right much, and whoa, from out of nowhere, I gained 2 positions because someone yeeted his slip off the track. But karma, or rather, I guess I didn't do good enough in my past life or something like that, because I make a mistake and I give those positions right back. And yeah, you win some, you lose some, I guess. Final hairpin once again, getting into the turn, and this was quite a yo-yo of a lap. Something that I'm pretty much realizing in the lower splits is just don't make mistakes and you will pretty much sail up in the rankings, which I guess bodes well for consistency. There's another mistake over there, and I gain a position purely because someone missed their breaking point, went off into the grass, and goodness knows what happens with him for the rest of the race. I don't really care. I'm P13 now, and we're now on lap 5 of 14, and as I said, P13. 2 cars have gone off, so I'm just gaining positions purely from not messing up too hard, which I guess is a really important lesson to learn in the lower splits. But I go and mess up again, and from out of nowhere, his slip. He slip. Yeah, he slip. He comes through from out of nowhere. I really thought his race was ruined, but it wasn't. But another fishtail, lo and behold. So that's pretty much been my story so far. Fishtail, occasional offs, and somehow I've still managed to gain positions, and I'm now P12, which is where I started, and that fills me with a bit of confidence. And over here I missed my breaking point completely, go off into the gravel, and would you know it, P14 once again. I'm starting to think this is my natural position or something. Now things remained largely the same for the next 2 laps. I kept my P14, and now onto lap 7. I caught onto a little bit of a crowd. Now my guess would be the front 2 of this little train that we formed here were fighting. Augustine then caught up, and I got right to the back of Augustine because he couldn't really pass them. So I felt like this would probably be a train, as long as no one made mistakes. This would just be a train to take us pretty much to the end of the race or something. But of course, like I've said before, this is the lower split. There will be mistakes, and it's just waiting to see who makes the mistake first. Coming through into this turn, and we got a bit congested here. I could not turn the way that I wanted to because unfortunately, yeah, those 2 cars covering both parts of the road. I thought I had a good run on Augustine. I did not, but coming down into this little chicane, Augustine gets through just fine, but all of a sudden, whee! And that puts me up to P13. Apologies for the disrespectful noise over there, but I it looked funny on my screen, and it just looked like he yeeted himself off the track. But we're back with my best friend Heaslip, and coming through to the last hairpin once again. He brakes a bit earlier than I do. I managed to get it stopped in time and keep it planted nicely, but I nearly took myself off the track there. I just didn't have the turning radius, I guess, or maybe I just turned in wrong. Doesn't matter. P12 going into turn 1 yet again. I still could not take this turn properly. Heaslip is right on my backside. He made a mistake. Someone else made a mistake right in front of me, and this is Blaw, I believe. Yes, this is Blaw, who was one of the front runners at some point, I believe. But anyways, once again, I make a little mistake. Someone else made a mistake, but didn't see it, obviously. And we fast forward to lap 10, because Heaslip, I think he made some massive mistake behind me. So goodbye, my friend. And in front of me, yeah, these guys were a little bit faster than me, or at least Blow was definitely faster than me. Once again, yet another mistake coming into this turn over here. I took it half decent, but someone had an off, and whoop, that's a close one. I'm just grateful he didn't return on the track too badly. We continue on to the final hairpin, and this is where I guess most of us would end up getting stuck together in some way, shape or form. So I caught up with them eventually. Coming into the final hairpin, I just couldn't keep up too well. So, you know, I needed a bit of help from people going off track like so, and Blaw taking people out of the track in front of me. Thank you very much, Blaw. You know what? I'm just going to follow you, and hopefully you can carry me to something good. No sooner did I say that, and he gets taken out. Oh my gosh, this lobby is savage. But now we're P8, 3 positions. Absolute beast of a race I'm having so far, considering I've been off about 3 times, or even more actually. Fishtailed who knows how many times. I could have easily been like nearer the front if I didn't make those kinds of mistakes. So yeah, note to self, literally just don't make mistakes. As you see, more little oversteer snaps there. And going into this corner, we suddenly have our mans just decide not to continue on the track. Well, that's a P7, so we've gone from P12 to P7 now. Before, I have had trouble with the chicane, and this time round I've learnt my lesson. We're not making the same mistakes 10 times. So yeah, P7 and lap 12. So at this point in time, I've got 3 laps to do. All I have to do is just not mess up, correct? Well, as you see in the mirror there, I had no one behind me. Next lap, going into lap 13, there is an ominous figure appearing behind me. And this was the first time I had to start looking in the mirrors, because someone who was obviously much faster than me was suddenly making their way right to my rear. And it's none other than Blow, who, as I mentioned before, was one of the front runners at some point in this race, and he got taken out twice. So the fact that this guy is right behind me once again says he definitely has way more pace than me. Now, I was keeping an eye on the time, and I decided, you know what, if I have anything to learn at all, it'll be now basically. And I guess I can learn to A, drive under pressure, and B, defend. If I could defend him for the rest of the race, that would probably be going quite a long way to helping my racecraft. So yeah, I'm just watching my rear mirrors, making sure that I don't make any mistakes, took the braking alright. But the thing is, I just couldn't take this chicane consistently, and with every single turn, Blaw was just getting larger and larger, and this is where I decided to defend the first time round. And going into the hairpin, I went through super slowly because I was afraid I'd take him out if I tried to get too aggressive there. And on this part here, looking in the mirrors, looking forward, I missed my braking point because I was so distracted with the mirrors. He couldn't turn in either, so I ended up going off track slightly and made him go off track as well. So I just decided that I'd just give up the position, because it would have been really unfair on the penultimate lap, especially to keep him back in that kind of way. It was kind of similar to Max versus Lewis Hamilton in Brazil, but hey ho, I decided to play fairly. And with that, we got all the way to the final lap. Here is the final chicane before the race finish. and another fishtail just to cap it all off. P8 from P12. I wasn't too displeased with that, if I'm honest, so yeah, I'm happy with that.